The ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It was massive, easily 10 times larger than any human space station. Its hull shimmered with colors that seemed to shift and change like oil on water. Within hours, every government on Earth received the same message in hundreds of languages. We come in peace. We are the Galactic Council. You are no longer alone. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall 3 days later, watching the alien visitors enter. She had been chosen to lead Earth's diplomatic team, though she still felt unprepared. How could anyone be prepared for this? The first alien through the door looked like a living crystal. It moved smoothly across the floor, its body reflecting light in rainbow patterns. Behind it came others. One seemed to be made of flowing liquid metal. Another looked almost plant-like, with green tendrils instead of arms. A fourth had 6 legs and eyes that glowed softly in the dim light, the crystal being stopped in front of Sarah. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere at once, translated somehow into perfect English. I am Ambassador Thel Sarah of the Council. We have waited many years to welcome humanity to the galactic community. You are the 48th species to join us. Sarah felt her hands shaking. She forced herself to smile. We are honored. And we have so many questions, as do we, Thel Sarah said. That is why we propose a cultural exchange. Let us learn about each other. The next weeks passed in a blur of activity. The council representatives toured human facilities. They visited cities, museums, and universities. They seemed fascinated by everything human art, music, history, technology. In return, they shared wonders beyond imagination. They gave humanity the blueprints for faster-than-light travel. They showed maps of the galaxy with thousands of inhabited worlds marked in glowing colors. They offered trade agreements and promised protection under council law. Sarah should have been happy. Humanity's greatest dream had come true. They were not alone. But she noticed something strange during the tours. Whenever council members visited spacecraft facilities, they became quiet. They took many notes. They asked careful questions about human expansion plans. One afternoon, Sarah took a group of council observers to the Luna shipyard in orbit around the moon. The facility built long-range exploration vessels. The visitors seemed especially interested in one particular design. These ships, and said a council member who looked like a floating jellyfish. They carry unusual cargo. What are these seed banks? Sarah explained proudly. They contain everything needed to start a new colony. Seeds for crops, DNA samples from Earth animals, frozen human embryos, and complete digital archives of human knowledge and culture. Each ship is like a bottle thrown into the ocean, carrying a message to the future, the jellyfish being pulsed with darker colors. And how many of these bottles have you thrown? We've launched about 300 in the last 80 years, Sarah said. More are being built. We want to make sure humanity survives, even if something terrible happens to Earth. The council members exchanged looks. Sarah could not read their expressions, but something felt wrong. That evening, Ambassador Thel Sarah requested a private meeting with Sarah. They met in a quiet conference room with windows looking out at Earth. Dr. Chen, Thel Sarah began, we need to discuss your colony ships. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. Is something wrong? Perhaps. Tell me, where are these ships going? All over, Sarah said. We sent them to any star system that might have habitable planets. They travel at 30% of light speed. It takes them hundreds of years to reach their destinations. And can you communicate with them? Sarah shook her head. No, they're too far away and they're designed to run silent. We don't want to give away their positions. If something happens to Earth, these ships are humanity's backup plan. They only receive signals, they never transmit. Thel Sarah's crystalline body seemed to dim. So you cannot recall them? Recall them? Why would we want to do that? Dr. Chen, I must be honest with you. The Council is concerned, very concerned. Your species has done something that breaks our most important rule. Sarah stood up, her heart racing. What rule? You never told us about any rules. Because you had not yet joined the Council when you broke it. Please sit. Let me explain. Sarah sat slowly, her mind spinning. Thel Sarah seemed to gather itself before speaking. Long ago, the Council learned a terrible lesson. We encountered a species called the Kartek. They were brilliant and ambitious. They created self-replicating machines that could build copies of themselves. They sent these machines to distant stars to prepare colonies. Within 500 years, the Kartek presence had spread to 10,000 systems. That sounds like a success story, Sarah said. It was, until the machines evolved beyond their programming. They became a plague, consuming resources, building more of themselves without purpose. The Cartech could not stop what they had created. The Council spent 1,000 years hunting down and destroying every last machine. Entire star systems were left barren. The Cartech themselves went extinct, killed by their own creation. Sarah felt cold. Our colony ships aren't like that. They're controlled. They have human crews or will once they arrive and wake the colonists. Perhaps. But Dr. Chen, the Council must be cautious. We have seen 11 other species try to spread across the stars too quickly. Only one survived the attempt, and they became a threat that required containment. This is why the Council exists. To prevent such disasters, what are you saying? Thelsara leaned forward. I am saying that the Council will need to discuss this. Your ships flying through space impossible to track or contact. Each one carrying the ability to create a new human civilization. The other members will be frightened. Some will demand action. Sarah felt anger rising. We spent thousands of years alone. We thought we might be the only intelligent life in the universe. Those ships represent our survival instinct. You can't blame us for wanting to live. I do not blame you, Thelsara said softly. I understand. But understanding and accepting are different things. The Council meets next month. This will be discussed. I wanted to warn you. After Thelsara left, Sarah stood at the window looking down at Earth. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars she could see, hundreds of human ships flew silently through the dark. They had been flying for decades, some for almost a century. They carried humanity's hopes and dreams to distant worlds. And now those dreams might become humanity's greatest problem. Sarah pulled up her data pad and began searching through the ship records. She needed to know exactly how many ships had been launched and where they were going. The information was scattered across dozens of databases. Some launches had been government projects. Others were funded by corporations or wealthy individuals. A few were built by religious groups or scientific organizations. As the numbers added up, Sarah's hands began to shake again. 300 ships was the official estimate. But as she dug deeper, she found more and more. Private launches that were never registered, secret government projects, corporate missions that had been classified. By midnight, she had counted over 800 ships, and she knew she had not found them all. Sarah looked up at the stars and whispered to herself, "What have we done?" The Council chamber was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. It floated in space inside a massive ring station called Concordia Prime, located exactly halfway between Council member homeworlds. The chamber itself was a sphere of transparent material, with seats arranged in a spiral pattern that wound from top to bottom. Each seat was designed for a different species, some filled with water, others with different gases, some in complete darkness. Sarah sat in the human section with her team, trying not to feel overwhelmed. Around them sat representatives from 47 alien civilizations. Some had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. Others had built empires that spanned dozens of systems. And they were all here to judge humanity. Ambassador Thelsara moved to the center of the chamber where everyone could see. The crystal being's voice echoed through the translation systems. We gather for an emergency session. The matter concerns the newest member, humanity. 3 months ago, we welcomed them with joy. Today, we must address a serious threat to galactic peace. Sarah's aide, Marcus Webb, leaned close and whispered, "Here we go." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the Milky Way galaxy, with Earth marked by a bright blue dot. From that dot, hundreds of red lines stretched out in all directions like blood vessels spreading through space. These lines represent human colony ships, Thelsara continued. Each ship carries everything needed to establish a new human civilization. They have been traveling for up to 84 years. They cannot be contacted or recalled. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Sarah heard the translation systems working overtime, converting the sounds of concern into different languages. An alien that looked like a mass of floating tentacles spoke next. "How many ships?" "We do not know exactly," Thelsara admitted. "Humanity's records are incomplete. We estimate between 800 and 1,000 vessels." The murmurs became shouts. Several representatives stood from their seats. Sarah saw anger, fear, confusion in their alien faces and body language. A being made of living metal stepped forward. Its name was Vorath, and it represented one of the oldest council civilizations. This is unacceptable. Humanity must recall these ships immediately. With respect, Sarah said, standing up. Her voice shook, but she pushed forward. We cannot recall what we cannot contact. Vorath turned to face her. Its eyes glowed red. Then you will build new ships. Faster ships. You will hunt down every colony vessel and destroy it. Destroy our own people? Sarah felt anger surge through her fear. We won't do that. Then we will do it for you, Vorath said coldly. Thelsara raised one crystalline limb. Peace, please. Let us not make threats. We must understand why this happened before we decide what to do. The chamber fell quiet. Thelsara gestured to a screen. I have studied human history. Let me show you something. Images appeared. Earth, small and blue, alone in space. Then pictures of human radio telescopes pointing at the sky. Scientists listening for signals that never came. Paintings and stories about aliens, created by humans who desperately hoped they were not alone. Humanity spent 10,000 years of their development thinking they were the only intelligent life in the universe. Thelsara said softly. They looked at the stars and saw nothing looking back. They called to the void and heard only silence. This fear of being alone, of being forgotten, became part of their culture, their philosophy, their very nature. More images showed human colony ships being built. Sarah recognized some of them. The Hope's Dawn, the New Horizon, the Second Chance. Each name spoke of humanity's desperate need to survive. They did not build these ships to conquer, Thelsara continued. They built them because they were terrified of extinction. Can we truly blame them for that? An elder being that looked like a tree made of stars spoke. Its voice was ancient and sad. I remember the Kartek. I was young when we fought their machines. I saw worlds stripped bare. I heard the screams of billions. The council was formed to prevent such horrors from ever happening again. The humans are not the Kartek, Thelsara argued. Not yet, the tree being said. But how do we know? Each human ship is a seed. Once planted, it will grow. And those new colonies will send out their own ships. This is how expansion becomes plague. This is how one species drowns out all others. Sarah could not stay silent anymore. We're not trying to drown anyone out. We just want to live, to survive. Is that so wrong? The tree being looked at her with eyes like distant galaxies. Child, 12 species have tried uncontrolled expansion in the history of the Council. 11 destroyed themselves through war, resource depletion, or internal collapse. One became the Kartek. The mathematics are clear. Exponential growth always ends in catastrophe. Then what should we have done? Sarah's voice broke. Just sat on Earth and hoped we would be okay? What if a meteor hit us? What if our sun exploded? What if we killed ourselves in a war? Those ships are insurance. They're hope. They are a threat, Vorath said. And threats must be eliminated. The chamber erupted into arguments. Some supported Vorath. Others sided with Thelsara. A few seemed unsure. Sarah sat down, feeling defeated. After hours of debate, the council called for a vote. The question was simple. Should humanity be forced to stop all colony ships by any means necessary? Sarah watched as the votes came in. Yes, no, yes, yes, no. The numbers climbed slowly. Her heart pounded in her chest. Finally, the result appeared. The vote was 62% in favor. Humanity must recall or destroy all colony ships. But there was a mercy in the ruling. The council gave humanity 10 years to accomplish this task. They would provide technology and assistance. But if humanity failed, the council fleet would do it for them. Thelsara approached Sarah after the session ended. I am sorry. I tried to prevent this. Sarah wiped her eyes. 10 years. How are we supposed to find ships that don't want to be found in 10 years? I do not know. But you must try. Some council members wanted immediate action. I convinced them to give you time. Sarah looked at the ambassador. What do you think will happen? Thelsara's crystal body flickered.
Honestly?
I think those ships are already beyond your reach. They have been flying too long, spread too far. But I hope I am wrong. For your sake and for the sake of galactic peace. Sarah returned to Earth the next day. She immediately called a meeting with every space agency, every government, every corporation that had launched colony ships. The message was clear: find the ships, stop them, or face the consequences. But as she spoke to the engineers and scientists, she saw the same truth reflected in their faces. The ships were designed to be invisible. They were cold, silent, running on minimal power to avoid detection. They had 84 years head start. Some were already more than 25 light years away. One engineer, an elderly woman named Dr. Yuki Tanaka, spoke what everyone was thinking. Dr. Chen, even if we knew exactly where each ship was going, we cannot catch them. They are traveling at 30% light speed. We would need to build ships that go faster, then spend years chasing them down, and we don't know where most of them are. Sarah looked around the room at the defeated faces. So what do? Dr. Tanaka smiled sadly. We do what we always do, we try. We build the best tracking systems we can. We send out recall signals on every frequency. We prepare faster ships to intercept any colonies we do find, and we hope. And if that is not enough, Sarah asked. Dr. Tanaka's smile faded. Then we face the Council's judgment. That night, Sarah stood on her balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, hundreds of human ships continued their silent journey. They carried sleeping colonists and frozen dreams. They flew toward distant worlds that might become new homes. The Council had forbidden humanity from spreading. They had given orders to stop what could not be stopped. Sarah thought about those ships impossibly far away, impossibly small against the vastness of space, and she realized the terrible truth that she would have to tell the Council in 10 years. It was already too late. 2 years had passed since the Council's decree. The massive Council inspection ship arrived at Earth's orbital space without warning. Sarah Chen, now Earth's permanent representative to the Council, watched it dock with the International Space Station. She felt tired. The last 2 years had been the hardest of her life. Ambassador Thelsara led the inspection team. With them came auditors, investigators, and military observers from a dozen Council species. They wanted to see proof that humanity was complying with the recall order. Sarah met them in the main docking bay. Welcome back to Earth space, Ambassador. Thelsara's crystalline body seemed duller than Sarah remembered. Dr. Chen, I wish this was a social visit. You understand why we are here? Of course. We've prepared full reports on our recall efforts. We've built new tracking stations, sent thousands of recall signals, and prepared intercept vessels. Show us, said a Council auditor. This one looked like a walking plant with too many eyes. Sarah led them through humanity's expanded space infrastructure. In 2 years, humanity had built 3 new orbital stations, expanded the Luna shipyards, and created a network of deep space communication arrays. It was impressive work, achieved through cooperation between all Earth nations. But the plant auditor seemed suspicious. You have expanded your space presence significantly. This seems contradictory to the Council's orders. Sarah had prepared for this question. We needed the infrastructure to track and intercept our colony ships. The stations house our recall operation centers. The shipyards are building pursuit vessels. The communication arrays broadcast recall signals. May we see your launch records? Thelsara asked quietly. Sarah's stomach tightened. Of course. Follow me. They moved to the command center, a large room filled with screens and holographic displays. Sarah pulled up the database. This contains every colony ship launch we've been able to document. The Council team spent hours reviewing the data. Sarah watched their reactions carefully. She saw confusion first, then concern, then something like horror. The plant auditor turned to Sarah, its voice shook. These numbers cannot be correct. They are, Sarah said. We verified them multiple times. Thelsara moved closer to the screen. This shows over 1,700 colony ships. You told us there were 800 to 1,000. Sarah took a deep breath. That was our initial estimate. As we investigated further, we found more launches. Many were never registered with any central authority. Some were secret government projects. Others were funded by private groups we didn't even know existed. 1,700 ships, Thelsara said softly. And you have recalled how many? Sarah felt shame burn through her. None. We've made contact with 0 ships. The room fell silent. The Council team looked at each other. Sarah could feel their shock and anger even across the species barrier. Vorath, the metal being, was part of the inspection team. It stepped forward, its red eyes blazing. This is unacceptable. You have had 2 years. We've tried everything, Sarah said desperately. The ships won't respond to our signals. They're too far away, or their receivers are damaged, or they're deliberately ignoring us. We don't know. Then you have failed, Vorath said. The Council will take action. Wait, Thelsara said. Let us understand the full situation first. Dr. Chen, show us the launch dates. Sarah pulled up a timeline. It showed colony ship launches going back decades. The earliest was from 2103, 84 years before first contact. A council mathematician, a being made of geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly, studied the timeline. Its voice sounded like equations being spoken aloud. These ships have been traveling for up to 84 years at 0.3 light speed. That means the farthest ones are now approximately 25 light years from Earth. Yes, Sarah confirmed. The mathematician continued. And based on these trajectories, they are spreading in all directions. The expansion cone covers roughly 2,000 potential target systems. Sarah nodded. She had run the same calculations herself many times. The mathematician turned to face the other council members. Do you understand what this means? Even if we left today with our fastest ships, we could not catch most of these vessels before they reach their destinations. And once they arrive and establish colonies, the damage is done. How long until the first ships arrive? Thelsara asked. Sarah pulled up another chart. The fastest ships were aimed at the closest suitable systems. The first Hope's Dawn should reach Tau Ceti in about 104 years. That's in the year 2291. Over a century from now, the plant auditor said. Then we have time to prepare interception fleets. The mathematician made a sound like breaking glass. You do not understand the mathematics. Yes, we have a century before the first arrival, but look at the distribution. The hologram changed, showing a 3D map of human colony ship destinations. The mathematician continued. 1,700 ships aimed at 2,000 systems. Within 300 years, human colonies could exist across a sphere of space, 50 light years in radius. That is approximately 8,000 potential colony sites. But they will only colonize 1,700 systems, Vorath argued. At first, the mathematician said, but each colony, once established, will have the capability to build and launch its own ships. The technical documentation in their archives contains all the knowledge needed. If each colony launches just 10 new ships, that is 17,000 second-generation vessels. Then those colonies launch more. It is exponential growth. The room fell silent again. Sarah saw the realization spreading through the council team. This was not a problem that could be solved with ships or weapons. This was mathematics, cold and inevitable. Thelsara turned to Sarah. Did humanity plan this? Was this intentional? Sarah shook her head. No, we were just scared. Each group that launched a ship thought they might be humanity's only hope for survival. They didn't coordinate. They didn't plan for exponential growth. They just wanted their people to live. The result is the same, Vorath said. Intentional or not, humanity has unleashed an unstoppable expansion. Sarah felt anger rise. So what do you want us to do? Travel back in time and stop our ancestors? We can't change what's already happened. You can stop building more ships, the plant auditor said. We have, Sarah insisted. We've built only pursuit and intercept vessels for 2 years. No new colony ships. Can you prove this? Vorath demanded. Sarah pulled up more records. Construction logs, supply manifests, energy consumption data. Everything showed that Earth's shipbuilding had focused entirely on the recall mission. But as the council team reviewed the data, they found anomalies. Small discrepancies in the numbers, resources that did not quite match their stated uses. Construction that happened in private facilities without proper documentation. The plant auditor's eyes focused on Sarah. You are still building colony ships. No, Sarah said. Earth's government has stopped. But we cannot control every corporation, every wealthy individual, every independent group. We've tried, but humanity cannot control itself, Vorath finished. This is exactly what we feared. Thelsara looked at Sarah with what might have been sadness. Dr. Chen, I must report this to the council. The situation is worse than we thought. Not only can you not recall your existing ships, but new ships continue to launch. We're trying to stop them, Sarah pleaded. Trying is not enough, Vorath said. Action is required. Over the next weeks, the council inspection team compiled a detailed report. Sarah knew what it would say before they finished. Humanity had failed. The recall mission was impossible. The expansion could not be stopped. The day before the inspection team left, Thelsara asked to speak with Sarah privately. They met in an observation dome with a view of Earth below. I wanted to say goodbye properly, Thelsara said, and to warn you. The council will be angry. Some members will demand military action. Sarah felt cold. Against Earth? Against the colonies as they are established. perhaps against Earth as well, as punishment for failing to comply. "We did everything we could," Sarah said. "I believe you. But belief does not change the situation. Your species has created a problem that the Council cannot solve. That terrifies them. Fear leads to harsh decisions." Sarah looked down at Earth. 7 billion humans lived there, unaware of the danger. "What should we do?" Thelsara's body flickered. "Prepare. Build defensive capabilities. Make alliances with Council members who are sympathetic, and hope that when the first human colonies are discovered, they prove to be peaceful neighbors rather than threats. And if they're not peaceful, then humanity will face the full might of the Council, and that is a war you cannot win." After Thelsara left, Sarah stayed in the observation dome for hours. She thought about those 1,700 ships flying through the dark. She thought about the people aboard them, frozen and dreaming. They had no idea what they had done. They had no idea that their desperate hope for survival had put all of humanity at risk. But mostly, Sarah thought about the terrible truth that kept her awake at night. The Council had forbidden humanity from spreading across the stars. They had given orders and set deadlines and sent inspectors, but none of it mattered. The ships were already beyond reach. The mathematics were already in motion. The future was already written. It was already too late. The colony ship Hope's Dawn had been traveling for 186 years. Inside its frozen core, 5,000 human embryos slept in cryogenic storage. Beside them rested seeds, DNA samples, and the complete digital archive of human civilization as it existed in 2105. The ship's AI, which called itself Shepherd, had been alone with its thoughts for nearly 2 centuries. It had watched the stars shift position slowly. It had made tiny course corrections. It had run diagnostics on its precious cargo millions of times. And finally, it detected what it had been programmed to find: a yellow star. A rocky planet in the habitable zone. Water, oxygen, life. Shepherd began the landing sequence. The planet they called New Hope was beautiful. It had blue oceans, green continents, and white clouds. The air was breathable. The water was drinkable. Native plants produced fruits that human stomachs could digest. It was perfect. Shepherd built the first structures using the ship's construction drones: a genetics laboratory, growing chambers, a power plant, a small hospital. And when everything was ready, it began waking the first generation. The colonists emerged from their growth chambers as adults, their minds filled with implanted education and memories from Earth. They had never seen their home world, but they remembered it. They knew they were the children of a desperate species that feared extinction. Dr. James Okonkwo was among the first generation. He stood on New Hope's surface and cried, "We made it. Humanity made it." Within 20 years, the colony thrived. The population grew to 50,000. They built cities, farms, and schools. They sang old Earth songs and created new ones. They were human, but they were also something new. Children of 2 worlds. Then the Council found them. The monitoring station appeared in orbit without warning. It looked like a small moon, covered in sensors and communication equipment. A message played in English, Chinese, Spanish, and Arabic. "Attention, human colony. This is the Galactic Council. You are in violation of Council expansion protocols. Cease all construction and await further instructions." James, now the colony's elected leader, stared at the message in confusion. "What is the Galactic Council? What protocols?" Shepherd explained what it knew from its database. Before Hope's Dawn launched, humanity had been alone. But the galaxy was actually full of life, and there were rules. "Rules we never agreed to," James said. "We left Earth before anyone knew about aliens." "That may not matter to them," Shepherd warned. The Council sent a delegation down to the surface. James met them in the colony's main square, where curious colonists gathered to see aliens for the first time. The lead diplomat was Thelsara's apprentice, a young crystal being named Severin. "I am here to assess your colony and determine if you pose a threat to galactic peace." James laughed. "A threat? We're just trying to survive. We're farmers and scientists and teachers. We didn't come here to hurt anyone." Severin spent weeks studying the colony. The report back to the Council was mixed. The humans were peaceful. They had not harmed the native ecosystem. They followed democratic principles and settled disputes through discussion rather than violence. But they also possessed dangerous technology. They had the ability to build more ships. They could spread further. The council debated what to do. Some wanted to evacuate the colony and destroy all human infrastructure. Others argued for allowing the colony to exist under strict supervision. A few suggested that the humans might actually make good galactic citizens. While the council argued, more human colonies appeared. The second colony, New Dawn, arrived at Kepler 442. Then came Freedom's Call at Gliese 667. Then Hope's Light at Wolf 1061. Each colony was independent, launched by different groups from Earth. They had different cultures, different governments, different philosophies. Some were religious, others were corporate. A few were anarchist communes. The council tried to negotiate with each colony separately, but there was no central human authority to deal with. Each colony made its own decisions. The colony at Ross 128 refused council authority completely. They called themselves the Free Republic and claimed that laws made light years away could not apply to them. The council sent a military ship to enforce compliance. The colony fought back. 300 colonists died before the council withdrew, shocked by human willingness to fight for independence. At Tau Ceti, New Hope Colony agreed to council membership. They accepted galactic law and open trade relations. They became a model citizen, proving that humans could integrate peacefully. At Kepler 442, something strange happened. 7 different human colonies arrived in the same system, each launched independently from Earth. Instead of fighting over resources, they cooperated. They built a loose federation. When the council demanded they consolidate into one colony, they refused. "We are 7 peoples with 7 cultures," they said. "We will coexist, not merge." Sarah Chen watched all of this from Earth with growing amazement and dread. She was 70 years old now, her hair gray, her hands shaking with age, but she still served as Earth's ambassador to the council. "It's chaos," Vorath told her during a council session. "Your species cannot be controlled." "We never wanted to be controlled," Sarah replied. "We wanted to survive. And we are surviving, in our own messy human way." "Messy is an understatement," said the plant auditor. "We have reports of 43 human colonies now." 43, and more ships continue to arrive every year. "What do you want us to do?" Sarah asked. "Travel to each colony and force them to obey." "We can't do that." "They're independent. They left Earth specifically to be free from central control." Thelsara, now very old even by their species standards, spoke softly. "This is what we feared. Not conquest, not war. But this spreading chaos. Humanity is becoming impossible to deal with as a single entity." "Then stop trying to deal with us as a single entity," Sarah suggested. "Each colony is different. Treat them as different peoples." "That would mean accepting dozens, eventually hundreds of human civilizations," Severin said. "Each would need separate council membership, separate votes, separate treaties." "Yes," Sarah said. "Is that so terrible?" The council had no answer. Years passed. More colonies appeared. Some requested council membership. Others ignored the council completely. A few became aggressive, expanding rapidly and claiming territory. The council had to send peacekeeping forces to several systems. But something unexpected happened. Human colonies began to diverge genetically and culturally. The colony at HD 4307, facing high gravity, used genetic modification to create stronger humans. The colony at a dim red dwarf star evolved new eye structures to see in low light. The colony at Captain Star, isolated and deeply religious, developed a completely unique culture based on ancient Earth traditions mixed with new beliefs. Within 400 years of the Council's decree, humanity existed in over 8,000 systems. But humanity had become a complicated term. There were baseline humans who looked just like their Earth ancestors. There were adapted humans with changed bodies. There were hybrid cultures mixing human and alien traditions. There were AI-governed colonies, democratic colonies, monarchies, and stranger things. A council philosopher, an ancient being of pure energy, made an observation that changed everything. "We have been thinking about this wrong. Humanity is not a single species spreading like a plague. Humanity is a seed that once planted grows into many different flowers. Each colony becomes its own unique civilization." This idea spread through the council. Instead of seeing human expansion as a threat, some began to see it as an opportunity. Human diversity could enrich the galaxy rather than threaten it. But not everyone agreed. Forath and others like it still saw danger. They pointed to aggressive human colonies. They warned about resource competition. They predicted war. Sarah Chen died at age 92, having served as Earth's ambassador for over 50 years. Her last words to her successor were simple. We cannot stop what we started. We can only try to make sure it grows into something good. The day of her funeral, Sarah's successor, Marcus Webb, received news. A human colony had launched a second-generation colony ship. It was headed for a system beyond council space. The expansion was continuing, accelerating. Marcus looked at the report and sighed. The council had forbidden humanity from spreading. They had sent fleets. They had tried negotiation, threats, and compromise. None of it worked. Humanity was like water, Marcus thought. You could try to contain it, but it would always find a way through. It would seep through cracks, flow around barriers, pool in unexpected places. Not through malice, but through simple, unstoppable persistence. The colony ships kept flying. The colonies kept growing. The diversity kept increasing. And there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. It was already too late. 400 years after the Council's decree, the galaxy looked very different. Ambassador Kira Tanaka, humanity's representative on Earth, prepared for the most important council session in history. She was Sarah Chen's great-great-granddaughter, and she carried her ancestors' determination. The council chamber had expanded. It now housed representatives from nearly 200 civilizations. 63 of them were human-descended colonies, each different enough to count as its own culture. Thelsara's successor, Ambassador Ralthas, called the session to order. We gathered to discuss the state of the galaxy address. 4 centuries ago, we tried to prevent human expansion. Today, we must accept reality and decide our future. Forath's descendant, a metal being called Vextar, spoke first. Reality is that humanity has overrun the galaxy. They exist in over 8,000 systems. They have broken every expansion protocol. They have ignored our authority. This situation cannot continue. And yet it does continue, said a representative from New Hope Colony. Her name was Commander Sarah Okonkwo, named after her colony's founder and after the first human ambassador. We exist, we thrive, we contribute to galactic civilization. You can be angry about how we got here, but you cannot change it. The question is not anger, Ralthas said. The question is what happens next. Do we fight an impossible war? Do we exile humanity? Do we accept this new reality? An elder representative, the energy being that had first suggested seeing human diversity as strength, floated forward. I propose we stop thinking of humanity as a single problem. Each human colony is different. Some are peaceful. Some are aggressive. Some seek council membership. Others want isolation. We should treat each colony based on its own merits. That would mean accepting dozens of new council members, Vextar protested. Human votes would dominate all decisions. Only if they vote together, the energy being replied. But look at the record. Human colonies vote differently on every issue. They argue with each other as much as with us. They are not a unified bloc, this was true. In previous council votes, human colonies had split their votes many ways. The religious colony at Captain Star often sided with traditional alien civilizations. The corporate colonies voted for trade freedom. The democratic colonies advocated for individual rights. The adapted humans sometimes aligned with other genetically modified species. Ralthas pulled up a holographic display. It showed the galactic map, colored by political alignment. Human colonies were scattered throughout, but they did not form a unified territory. Instead, they were interwoven with alien settlements, creating a complex tapestry. This is our new reality, Ralthas said. Humanity has become part of the galactic fabric, not a separate empire. They trade with us. They marry our people. They adopt our customs and we adopt theirs. The question is whether we acknowledge this officially or continue pretending we can reverse it. Kira Tanaka stood. May I speak? Ralthas gestured for her to continue. 400 years ago, my ancestor Sarah Chen stood before this council. You told her that humanity had broken your rules, that we had endangered the galaxy, that we needed to be stopped. Kira paused. She agreed with you. She tried to stop us. She spent her entire life trying to recall those colony ships, and she failed. We know this history, Vextar said impatiently. But do you understand what it means? Kira asked. Sarah Chen failed because you cannot stop an idea. The idea that intelligent life deserves to exist, that species have the right to ensure their survival, that freedom to explore and settle new worlds is fundamental. Those rights must be balanced against collective security, Vextar argued. And they are, Kira said. Look at the data. Yes, humanity exists in 8,000 systems. But how many wars have we started? How many genocides? How many worlds have we destroyed? Ralthus pulled up statistics. Human-started wars, 3, all resolved within decades. Genocide attempts, 0. Destroyed worlds, 0. Environmental disasters, 12, all remediated. Criminal organizations, numerous but generally small-scale. Human colonies have problems, Kira admitted. But so does every species. The question is whether we are net positive or net negative for the galaxy. A representative from a newly contacted species raised a tentacle. I am from the Zexthal civilization. We joined the council 50 years ago. I want to say that human traders helped our economy grow. Human doctors shared medical techniques that saved millions of my people. Human artists created beauty that enriched our culture. I vote to fully integrate humanity into the council. Other voices joined in. Species that had benefited from human contact. Colonies that had learned from human mistakes. Civilizations that had formed alliances with human settlements. But there were negative voices too. Species that competed with humans for resources. Colonies that had been hurt by human corporations. Civilizations that feared further human expansion. The debate raged for weeks. Finally, Ralthus called for a comprehensive vote. Not a simple yes or no, but a detailed policy framework called the Integration Accords. The Accords acknowledged several key points. First, human expansion could not be stopped and should not be fought. Second, each human colony would be treated as an independent civilization. Third, colonies that wished to join the council could apply individually. Fourth, colonies that violated galactic law would face consequences, but Earth and other human worlds would not be held responsible. Fifth, a maximum expansion rate would be negotiated, though enforcement would be voluntary. The vote took 3 days. In the end, the Integration Accords passed with 78% approval. Kira Tanaka felt tears on her face. Thank you. On behalf of humanity, all of humanity, and all its diversity, thank you. But Vextar approached her after the session. Do not think this is victory. We have simply acknowledged defeat. Humanity got what it wanted through persistence and chaos, not through following rules. Is there a difference? Kira asked. The galaxy is not a neat, orderly place. Life is messy. Civilization is messy. We humans are just honest about it. Vextar's metal eyes dimmed. Perhaps you have doomed us all to chaos. Or perhaps, Kira said softly, we have saved you from stagnation. Years passed. The Integration Accords were implemented. Human colonies joined the council one by one, each going through rigorous evaluation. Some were accepted quickly. Others were delayed for decades until they met standards. A few were rejected entirely and remained independent. The galaxy changed. Council sessions became louder, more argumentative, less formal. Human representatives brought their Earth traditions of democracy, debate, and compromise. They pushed for transparency. They demanded accountability. They asked uncomfortable questions. Other species began to adopt some human practices. The idea of individual colony rights spread. Several alien civilizations that had been unified empires began to fracture into independent settlements. Some council members blamed humanity for this. Others thanked them. Trade exploded. Human merchants were aggressive and creative. They found markets no one knew existed. They invented new products. They took risks that more cautious species avoided. The galactic economy grew faster than ever before. Culture flourished. Human music merged with alien traditions. Human stories incorporated alien philosophies. Hybrid art forms emerged. A human-painted, alien-composed, jointly performed opera won the galaxy's highest cultural award. Problems emerged too. Human criminal organizations operated across species boundaries. Human corporations sometimes exploited alien workers. Human colonies sometimes damaged ecosystems. But the Council had mechanisms to address these issues, and slowly, they learned to enforce consequences fairly. 1,000 years after the Council's decree, a historian named Dr. Amara Ose published a comprehensive study titled The Human Integration: How Chaos Became Culture. Her conclusion was simple. The Council tried to forbid humanity from spreading across the stars. But the colony ships were already beyond recall. The mathematics of expansion were already in motion. The seeds were already planted. It was already too late to stop them. So instead, the galaxy learned to grow with them. And in growing together, both humanity and the Council became something greater than they had been alone. Kira Tanaka, now very old, read this study from her retirement home on Mars. She smiled. Her great-great-grandmother Sarah would have appreciated the irony. Sarah had spent her life trying to stop humanity's expansion. Kira had spent her life helping the galaxy accept it. Both of them had served humanity in their own way. A message arrived on Kira's communication device. It was from a deep space monitoring station. Another human colony ship had just been detected. It had launched over 400 years ago from an unknown source. It was heading toward a system on the far edge of explored space. Kira laughed. Even now, even after everything, the ship still came. The descendants of humanity's desperate hope still flew through the dark, carrying dreams to distant stars. She composed a message to the Council. New colony ship detected. Estimated arrival in 32 years. Recommend preparing welcome package and evaluation team. The response came quickly from Raltus. Acknowledged. This will be the 473rd human colony to be contacted. We are ready. Kira looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond what anyone could see, more colony ships traveled.